Hi guys, welcome to week 3 of my fantasy football videos. Thank you for joining me once again. Let's get into it with me versus Mo. Tough week for us both last week, both me and Mo, and we're both looking for that bounce back win here. Starting on Thursday night, I had an okay if unspectacular return from Leonard Fournette playing against the Titans. Big question going into this week is obviously going to be how will Gostkowski bounce back following that poor performance he had last week? He missed a field goal, he missed 2 extra points. Sort of highlighting why some people think he's overrated. Hopefully he can have a stronger week this week. On the other side, for me, I've had Harrison Butker, who has been a model of consistency so far this season, and so that's going to be quite an important one in determining this game. I think our game of the week is going to be the Ravens at Kansas because it involves my kicker and Mo's RB2, WR2, sorry. And so that's going to be the important game for us to be watching. I think I'm going to tip Mo to win a squeaker here. I think it's going to be a very close game. Next, let's move on to Phil v. Tread. Phil bet against Gardner Minshew on Thursday night, someone who we all know to be quite a special player. And that's come, like I said, it's come back to bite him quite hard, betting against Gardner Minshew by playing that Titans defense, who only managed to put up 1 point for him to go alongside the 10.6 he had for Henry earlier in the week. This game features the 3rd and 4th overall from our fantasy football draft squaring off against each other, and I think they're going to be the key to determining this one. Christian McCaffrey now playing with Kyle Allen as his QB. Is he going to see more targets? Is he going to be used as a safety blanket like a conventional tight end does for inexperienced wide receivers? I think so, and I think I'm going to predict Christian McCaffrey to have at least 10 targets this week. I know he already has quite a high volume of targets, but I think that's going to be even more so this week. And I think because of that those extra targets, I think I'm going to back Tread to win this one here against Phil. Make sure you guys are watching that Panthers-Cardinals game, as you both seem to be starting Panther wide receivers as well, despite obviously the very poor start they've had with Cam Newton as their wide receiver. Brad v. Ian. I want to commend Brad here for embracing the tank of his personal team. He's starting Jameis Winston this week against the Giants. Some people, still believe that their team are, despite being 0-2, that they're going to try and win a lot of games and will still try and put homer picks into their fantasy lineup, like, maybe like a Juju Smith-Schuster or a James Conner, unaware that, their team is obviously pretty poor this year. But Brad, on the other hand, is actually trying to get points out of his team being pretty terrible. So good on you there, Brad. Strong start for Brad as well by playing the Titans defense. They scored 16 points. I think that number might be matched though this week by the Chargers for Ian. They're going up against a very poor Texans offensive line. To give you guys some numbers here, Deshaun Watson in his career so far, he's played 24 starts and he's had 91 sacks. For context, for years we've bemoaned how bad that Colts offensive line was. And Andrew Luck, in his career, he ate 171 sacks in 86 games. So that means Deshaun Watson's getting sacked at nearly twice the rate Andrew Luck is. We talked about a guy who retired early due to injuries. I'm not sure how much longer Deshaun Watson's going to want to stay in Houston with that line. But anyway, that's a discussion for a different day. I think Ian's going to win this one this week based on the strength of his defense. You guys also need to be watching that Raven-Kansas game. You seem to have tight ends going up against each other for either team. Let's move on to Andy and Tris. Okay start for Andy with tight end points. He got about 6 of them, and take it from me, I know how difficult it is to get points from your tight ends in crucial games, so I wouldn't bemoan that 6 points at all. Both teams seem to be starting aging running backs onto awful teams. Andy has Peterson, Tris has the eternal Frank Gore. Just so you guys are aware, Frank Gore is about 400 yards short of moving past Barry Sanders on that all-time rushing list. For context, Adrian Peterson is about 8th at the moment. He is just behind Jerome Bettis. Gore, I think, is going to have an easier day. He's going up against that Bengals defense, who really struggled to tackle 49er running backs last week, whereas Peterson's going up against Chicago, and that's going to be a much harder one to run into. Based on this, I'm going to back Tris to win here. Your game of the week to watch is going to be the Falcons at Indy, where you guys seem to have a collective of 3 receivers going in that game. Finally, let's move on to Ryan v Tom. Ryan made the move to go out and get the Cowboys defense 2 weeks ago, knowing they'd be up against Miami this week. That's a very smart move on his part. Tom still doesn't have a kicker, despite the warnings he's had about this. Both seem to be playing Steelers this week against the 49ers, which is quite interesting in my mind, based, as we said, that Mason Rudolph is currently starting. Sorry about this. Starting for the Steelers in place of Big Ben. I think Ryan's going to be the one to win this one this week. I'm going to say make sure you guys are watching that Steelers-San Fran game, though. As you, like I said, you both seem to have Steelers going in it. Guys, thank you for watching this week. Best of luck to you, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.